Welcome back, everyone. We're here with another Q&A. Anything I say is not meant to diagnose you. Check with your doc before implementing any of the suggestions that we're going to present today. Let's dive right in, Steve.
Sure will. Let's start off with our friends from YouTube, in this case, Jasna. My blood test indicates my LDL cholesterol is 2 times higher than it should be, doesn't give a number. I believe that is the normal during ketosis. And will it regulate itself eventually, or is it high LDL a danger to my health? And once again, we have no idea what her levels are.
So this kind of boils down to what actually LDL is. It's not actual cholesterol. It's a packaging boat, so to speak, that's transporting cholesterol from your liver to your tissues, whereas HDL takes it from the cell and puts it back to the liver. So the best way to put things at ease is to do an advanced lipid profile test to look at the type of LDL you have. There's 2 types, and one is a lot smaller. It's called small dense lipoproteins, and then you have bigger ones. They're called large buoyant ones. So you can look at that data to see if those are within the normal range, because if you are on a low carb diet and you're improving your insulin resistance, then you're not going to get the small dense ones that can invade the cell wall and create problems. You're going to get the larger ones. So this is why there's a little extra step of understanding that you can't just speak about LDL in broad terms, because there's a lot of new information about it that will put you at rest. My whole viewpoint, to keep this really simple, is if you're on a low carb, you don't have to worry about it.
That's wonderful. That's encouraging. Now, we've got a buddy named Sadow10 from Rumble, one of our first listeners or viewers from over there, and he wants to know, do you recommend colostrum to heal gut and autoimmune disease? I also have severe damage in my small intestines. That's no fun, Sadow. What can we do for him?
Yeah, a lot of the autoimmune disease start at the gut level, and then you get this inflammation and then a leaky gut and then immune reaction, and from there it goes downhill. So how do you heal that? The first thing is to eliminate the certain foods that you're eating that could be irritating the gut. This is why the carnivore diet is so successful now, because it eliminates any and all possible extra things that can irritate the gut. And now we get healing. Plus, when you have meat, you're getting a lot of glutamine, which actually helps heal the gut. So that would be very important. And maybe if you didn't want to do that, you can add sauerkraut or kimchi to actually add that fermented fiber, and because a lot of it's cabbage, and cabbage is also good to heal the gut. Colostrum is a good remedy for the gut. Some people are sensitive to the milk proteins in colostrum. So if you get colostrum from sheep, that's better, but that's just the point. But it does have certain compounds that can help heal the gut. Another remedy for the gut would be something called zinc carnosine. That's another good one. But ultimately, you're going to have probably the most success by going as low carb as possible and eliminating grains, seed oils, and probably do a carnivore for a while just to heal the gut. And that's probably going to be the most successful thing you're going to do.
All right, Sadow, we hope you feel better. Sam from YouTube, should I continue my weightlifting regime while doing a 30-day fast?
It depends, because when you're doing a true fast, on one hand, you want to have a complete rest. So you're not doing a lot of activity, and you let your body go through the repair and the autophagy it needs to clean and repair. But let's say you're more interested in some other benefits, like lowering or making your insulin more sensitive, or you're trying to lose weight. Maybe then you want to add exercise to that and weight training, and to see if you can handle it. It really depends on when you do that, if that's your purpose, how do you feel? Because some people, if they're fasting and they add weight training and they feel weak, okay, so maybe they haven't adapted yet to that. But I know of a group of people, including a medical doctor who actually was a type 1 diabetic, and not only fasted for 5 days, all eight of the group fasted for 5 days, but every single day they ran 20 miles. So it just goes to show you that, your body can actually handle a lot of different things at once. But again, a true fast, if you're trying to get the regular benefits, is that it'd probably be best just to let your body rest while you're doing this fasting, so you get the full benefit of autophagy and repair. So it really depends on the purposes of fasting.
All right, well, you're certainly energetic. Let's take another angle to fasting. Elise from Facebook, what are your views on alternate day fasting?
I don't like it if it's like a regular thing where you're just doing intermittent fasting, but you're doing it irregular. Because especially if you're doing like what's called the 5 and 2, which you fast on weekends, but then during the week, you pretty much eat what you want. But sometimes you're not even fasting, you're just dropping your calories to 500. What happens when you start to do fasting and not do fasting, it takes a while to get into fasting and where you're burning fat and you're switching over into living off ketones. And then if you go off of it, it takes a longer period of time to get back into it. So it's kind of like doing fasting with a cheat day every other day. It just doesn't work, just because it takes time. Now, ideally, when you start to correct insulin resistance to the point where you're really flexible, you can burn any type of fuel and you can go back and forth, then you could probably handle it. But for most people, I would do consistent intermittent fasting. However, that being said, maybe you can change the hours during the day that you fast, but still keep them the same. So if you're fasting for 18 hours, maybe switch that up. So you're always fasting roughly for 18 hours, but maybe you have breakfast and a second meal, you don't have dinner, and then you switch that over to lunch and no breakfast and then lunch and dinner. That's fine. But and then also, if you have cancer, it's really important to do consistent intermittent fasting, but then periodic prolonged fasting, and that needs to be irregular. So one day you're like fasting for 48 hours, next week you're doing, or maybe 4 days you're doing 1 meal a day, and then you go on a 5-day fast. But you keep that erratic to keep the cancer cell not learning from your patterns and preventing it from adapting to what you're doing.
Well, that's hopeful. I hope that works. Joe from YouTube, what's the best way to treat extremely dry, itchy skin, I guess all over?
Deeper in you want to fix the core of it, the root cause, and that would be increasing your zinc, increasing your omega-3 from cod liver oil, because that will give you some additional benefits, and also omega-3, and then getting rid of the seed oils. Vitamin A has been known to cause dry skin as well, so you'd probably want to consume foods high in vitamin A, like eggs, the egg yolk, butter, things like that. And then there's also topical things that you can do in the meantime to see immediate results. So you can do castor oil is a good one because it's very hydrating and it has a unique chemical that will actually help heal the skin. So that's what you can do.
All right, very good. Let's go to Gladius from, if I said that right, Terry Rumble. Are there any supplements that could improve or reverse, schizophrenia? That's nasty, unfortunately.
Niacinamide is a type of B3. It's taken in high doses. Like sometimes you want to work up to, well, you don't have to work up to it. You just start taking 3 grams a day up to 4 grams, and then slowly up to 6 grams a day over a period of months. And apparently there's some great data on that can help schizophrenia. In fact, the book on niacin, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like almost like a very thick book on B3 and using B3 in different forms, not just niacin, but also niacinamide. It goes into some fascinating research in relationship to schizophrenia and how that condition goes right in remission when you start to increase the B3. The other thing that you have to realize with anything related to cognitive function or mood disorders, or anything related to mental anything, you want to run your brain on ketones. It's just better, it's less inflammatory, and you can bypass the normal damage that occurs with the neurons. I mean, if you think about depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, there's an interesting thing that happens with all those conditions. If you look at the cell, there's not good mitochondrial function. And so then the cell converts over to a different pathway where it's then gives off excessive amounts of lactic acid or lactate, because you see lactate and sometimes those conditions are too high, which purely tells you that this is a metabolic problem involving the cell not able to use fuel properly, which makes sense because that's really underneath a lot of chronic disease. So the way to bypass that whole thing, to fix it, is just to get off sugar and starches and start to consume low carb. So then you could run on ketones. Ketones will bypass that whole thing, and it'll help give you relief. And then also I would add magnesium and B1 as two powerful things to help get rid of that extra lactic acid or lactate that is building up.
Well, obviously, Dr. Berg cares about you all because that was a very thorough discussion on that question. Let's go, speaking of question, let's go to quiz question number 1. Doc, there you go.
What is the one foundational word, if understood by healthcare, would collapse chronic disease overnight?
All right, I think I have some ideas, but I say nothing. Tammy from Facebook, any recommendations for parasites in the gut and how to get rid of them?
Wormwood extract and black walnut hulls. So you can get both of those and take those to help create an environment where these parasites will need to leave your body.
All right, very good. Let's go to Jan from YouTube. What are the natural food or supplements that you would recommend to improve killer T cells and white blood cells? She wants to have her immune system all revved up.
So there's two cells that she mentioned that have a couple duties. One is to kill cancer, and the other is to kill viruses. So they're really important. And there are nutrients that you can take to get them to work better. And I did a video on this. So zinc is super important, and so is vitamin D. Both of those, if you have sufficient amounts, will greatly enhance those two cells. And the other thing you have to realize is that what suppresses those two cells is something called stress. So the more stress that someone is under, the more chronic stress, the more those cells don't work. So do whatever you can to maintain a low stress lifestyle, and that will help you with your immune system.
All right, let's go to Poonam, who is with us, and let me cut her audio on, and she's got one quick question for us. Go ahead with your question for Dr. Berg, Poonam.
Hi, Dr. Berg, a big fan. Thank you so much. I'm 47, carb resistant, and this year my periods have dropped to about once every 3 months. I had lost 30 pounds, but I have regained about 20, and now I feel plateaued at where I am. I don't have thyroid since I was 21, and I have been taking 20 mcg Synthroid every day. Plus, I do take 5 mg amlodipine. I take 20,000 IU vitamin D3 with K2 your vitamin. With I also take magnesium, zinc, fish oil, and sometimes now and then I do apple cider vinegar. I have done in the past 3-day water fast, but lately now I struggle to get past 16 hours. I did take antibiotic course a month ago for an oral cyst procedure, and my current routine is very healthy, wherein I take chia seeds, 3 tablespoons with Greek yogurt, kimchi. I do eat carb once every week or twice. My average daily steps are now 7,000. I do strength training 3 days a week for 30 minutes. But I do have, because of my work stress with the global regional routine, I only get sleep 6 to 7 hours most of the nights.
Okay, let's
Now,
go ahead
given
and
my
see if we can get Dr. Berg to get in a question answer for you there. We're running out of time, but thank you for that, Poonam.
Yeah, because I'm gonna, because of the one quick question, gave me a lot of great background, so I'm gonna try to do my best to answer. I'm guessing out of all that data, you want some advice to bust through some barriers that you're running into because you're doing a lot right. So that's awesome. I think here's the thing that's happening to you right now with your age. You're going into something called menopause. And what happens with that is we get this drop in estrogen and also progesterone. And a lot of other things happen too. But there's two big things that happen when we don't have enough estrogen. One is insulin resistance becomes way bigger of a problem, whereas before it wasn't as much. So that means that you're going to have to be even more strict than someone who is younger with your diet. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to tell you that, break the news. And then the other thing is the vitamin D, which you're already taking, I think 20,000 IUs, which is great. That's also, it's going to have a hard time converting. So I think you covered that. I think you have the magnesium, that's great. But the thing that popped out is your sleep because of your schedule. That is probably the biggest thing right now that is keeping you from pushing through this barrier. Now, of course, you asked a question that relates to another question on our quiz. So I'm going to hold off with some of this answer. But what I would do if I were you is I would be even stricter and have no carbs, or maybe do carnivore and do whatever you can to counter the sleep problem, even if it's taking a nap during the day, because when your sleep is not right, your blood sugars start going off, your hunger goes off. It's really hard to keep your stress low enough and keep the cortisol down, especially going through menopause, if the sleep isn't at least 7.5 to 8 hours. So that is, I think, where you need to put your energy on. And I'm going to be releasing a comprehensive video on sleep coming up soon to see if you can pull that off.
All right, I guess nighty-night, Poonam, would be the appropriate phrase for now. And Poonam, why don't you take a look at this quiz question, too, that asks, see if you got it right, what is the one foundational word, if understood by healthcare, would collapse chronic disease overnight? And 45% say it's fasting, 20% say it's insulin, 20% say it's, I got insulin twice there, Terry. Let's see, 15% it's stress or cortisol. I think we had a little typo there, but that's fine. But 100% say a variety of things, including fasting, insulin, and stress, which releases cortisol, I suspect.
Okay, so are you sitting down right now? Steve, are you sitting down?
Okay, I'm now seated.
Okay, good. That there's one word, if fully understood, would completely turn things around. This word is so foundational to our health that you cannot create health without applying the correct definition of this one word, which is the definition of food. Now, here's the problem with the definition of food. You have the real definition of food, which is a biological definition, which is that which is eaten to sustain life, repair the body, and support the growth of tissue. Okay, that's the real definition. But there's also a legal definition of food by the FDA that the junk food industry has used to produce counterfeit food. And you're not going to believe this definition because literally they define it as, they don't define it. It's basically food is food that as long as it fits the labeling regulations And the packaging regulations, it can be considered food if it's not putrid or spoiling or things like that. So they have different laws about that. But really, they define food without defining food, which gives the food industry wide open gate to produce anything that mimics food. And so if you look at the ultra processed food ingredients, not one of them fits the definition of the word food. Like, most of that junk food is industrial starch. Okay, that's a filler. It doesn't sustain life, other than if you're on life support, maybe you could sustain some life for a period of time, but you can't repair the body, you can't grow the body on something that is basically made up, that helps wallpaper stick to the wall, which is cornstarch. But that's really the majority of it. And then you have the synthetic high fructose corn syrups, the glucose, synthetic sugars, and then the oxidized seed oils, which are, you can't live on those because they're so refined and so oxidizing, they create damage. And so, and then the coloring of the food and the flavoring food, these are all ways of tricking our body into making it taste like food. Steve, if I right now mixed up a bowl of cornstarch, high fructose corn syrup, maybe put some food coloring, and I gave it to you in a spoon, you would not be able to eat it unless I added something in there like flavorings, right?
I think so.
I have to trick your brain because it doesn't taste good. And then also I have to give you something in that flavoring or add some added MSG to never have you be satisfied. So that way you can't just eat one. And this is kind of where we're at. And so I don't anticipate the junk food industry changing that definition anytime soon. So I think the best thing to do is for you to ask 3 questions before you eat anything. Can it sustain my life? Does it repair my body? Does it help me grow? If not, it's not food. Don't buy it. And if enough people do that, then what happens is, like, the market will change to something else that they're going to be forced to change their food, their so-called food, because they're going to follow where the money is. And if people don't buy it, then they're going to have to change. I don't think there's another way around this, and that's just my opinion, because they have a lot of money to do all sorts of campaigns right now. As I'm finding out, it's really hard to get them to change some of the ingredients that they're putting out there.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's quite a racket. Okay, let's go to quiz question number 2, and there you have it, Doc.
Okay, so why does high iron put you at risk of a stroke?
All right, audience, what do you think about that? Speaking of the audience, let's see who is listening today. So we'd like to say a good day to our viewers joining us today from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Jordan, Armenia, Nigeria, Mauritius. Oh, God, look at that. I blew it. Brunei, Romania, Indonesia, Finland, Thailand, Eritrea, Sweden, Chile, Panama, Germany, Poland, Greece, South Africa, Australia, Brazil, the Philippines, Qatar, Belgium, the Virgin Islands, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Japan, India, Nepal, Italy, Austria, Guatemala, Iran. How can this be true? Belize, Hungary, Turkey, Trinidad and Tobago, Peru, Curacao, Cameroon, Somalia, South Korea, Switzerland, Pakistan, Singapore, Israel, one of the longer ones, American Samoa, Albania, Bosnia, and Herzegovina. Didn't want to leave that part out. Moldova, and all across the United States. Thanks for that mouthful, Terry. That's a lot of work. Okay, so anyway, now let's switch over to Jack from Facebook. Astaxanthin and lutein are in egg yolks. Will beta-carotene block their absorption? Did I say that first one right?
No, I mean, the natural beta-carotene in eggs will not block their absorption because they all work together. They're all actually an antioxidant, and they actually they don't oppose each other. One can even act as an antioxidant and donate an electron to stabilize a free radical, and then it has to borrow another electron from another one. So But then when you get into synthetic beta-carotene, that's a whole different thing, because they make them from petroleum, and they're an isolated thing that is not in nature. And if you are a pre-existing smoker, for example, and you load up with this synthetic antioxidant, then it puts you at more at risk of getting cancer. So I would just stay away from synthetic antioxidants, and I think you'll be better off.
Very good. Swain from YouTube, how can I treat an extremely oily scalp this time and hair loss with that?
In your scalp, you have sebaceous glands that sometimes can overproduce oil, sebum. So one of the best regulators of that is zinc. But if you are insulin resistant, if you're doing a lot of carb, that can also offset that mechanism and create more oil. So if you go on a lower carb and start eating healthier, and then take zinc, chances are that might just solve your problem.
All right, very good. Let's see. I'm fiddling with one of our guests. Let me just get him to come on the audio, and it is Marcus from Denton, Texas. Marcus, go ahead with your question for Dr. Berg, please.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Berg. I'm 37, approximately 30 months ago, I was diagnosed type 1 diabetic. I did what was a new treatment at the time. The FDA approved it 3 months before, called Tzield. It kind of seemed like chemotherapy for type 1s not on insulin. And at this point, I'm still not using insulin, and I'm doing a high keto diet, basically. And I'm just struggling to get any guidance from anybody. Everybody in the endocrinologist office, my regular physician, it's more like, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. And what I'm doing really sucks, because it's really strict. I eat chicken, spinach, and, because everything else, I'm just trying to micromanage and save what's left of my pancreas at this time.
Yeah. So what is your blood sugars typically when you check them?
When I check them, my average is between like 99 to 110.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
My
That's
A1C
really good.
is around 5.3, 5.4 on my checkups.
Wow. So you obviously have some functioning pancreas. It has to be working somewhat, right?
Right, it does, and I can on the monitor that I use a CGM, I can see it spike pretty significantly if I do cheat.
Yeah.
And then I go do a brisk walk or lift some weights or something to help bring it back down. But I can watch my pancreas. Some days I call it a bad employee. Some days at noon it'll say, hey, I'm not coming to work today. And then other days it's like highly functioning, and I can have a cookie. And then after lunch I can have a muffin, or, so
Yeah.
but I really try and baby it, because they keep saying, oh, one day you'll be on insulin. One day you'll be on insulin.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like someone who they're going down this chute with kidney disease, and they start with stage 1 and stage 2, and then the doctors are telling, well, someday you're going to be on kidney dialysis. You'll be in a stage 4. Yet they haven't mentioned about the diet. They're not telling them to get off Pop-Tarts. So I think, number one, you're going to have to just be super strict with your diet. I mean, just from here on out, because you have a weakness there. But the good news is, it sounds like it's not a full shutdown of the beta cells of your pancreas. What's very unique about the beta cells in the pancreas that produces insulin is that it's a specialized cell that is super concentrated with mitochondria. Like, it's super high level, because it's constantly having to compensate for your blood sugars by pumping all this insulin out. So obviously, I don't know what your percentage of cells that are left, but it sounds like it's somewhat okay. So here's the secret I'm going to give you right now. You got to promise not to tell anyone this, and I'm being very sarcastic. There's another part of the inside of your cell. This is your cell. You got the mitochondria right here, right? You need as many mitochondria as you can to be able to work. But there's another thing in your cells. This might be a new word for you, but there's that actually is even more important than the mitochondria, because it's the first thing to go, because it's the thing that helps you make insulin. And so when that goes downhill, it takes the mitochondria down, and now you can't get fuel to feed those cells. So this is called, you ready for this? Endoplasmic reticulum. You can look it up, and it's basically, I think you have endoplasmic reticulum stress. So if you were to support that, it would take a big pressure off the mitochondria, and your beta cells would do very well. And you can research this topic and find some great data. One of the best remedies for that is TUDCA. You should be taking TUDCA. Chew on an empty stomach twice a day. That will help you make more insulin. It helps support the cells, and just make sure you're doing everything else right with the diet. Like a very wide range of nutrient-dense foods, consistently exercise. Don't stress out the pancreas right now. Just keep supporting it. But I really think that the TUDCA is what's missing in your diet, because it's something very specific to rejuvenating the beta cells. And there's other things too, like zinc and vitamin D for sure, especially if it's autoimmune. But I think TUDCA will take you to the next level. And if you can keep your blood sugars, like your fasting, at 80, oh my gosh, you'll be good. And I think you can prolong this as long as possible.
Well, Marcus, we are really inspired by your commitment to this, and an interesting question. So good luck with all of that. Let's go back to social media. We're Hidden G, as in George, from Rumble. Is it possible to reverse Barrett's esophagus? Good question.
I don't know how bad it is. But what I would do is I would address it just like you would GERD, acid reflux, the same way. And I would take something called betaine hydrochloride. Betaine hydrochloride is a remedy that's been used for a very long time, even by medical doctors. It's even in some of the earlier medical textbooks from 1943, which I just got a book and I was like, wow, they used 70% of their treatment was using natural herbs and things like that back then. I was like, wow, amazing. They used betaine hydrochloride until they came out with Tums and PPIs. So what you could do is start taking betaine hydrochloride before a meal, build up the stomach acid, because we want to keep that valve, the top of the valve on the stomach, closed, nice and tight. The other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your diet is really good, and you do intermittent fasting, because we need to allow all that food to get through the system so you don't overwhelm it. And then also B1, which it will support the autonomic nervous system part of that dynamic. But there's a lot more to say about that, but I'm trying to do simple answers.
All right, very good. Well, here's an answer to the question which asked of the audience: why does high iron put you at risk of a stroke? And 72% say an iron deficiency makes the blood cells stickier. 20% say excess iron robs the brain and other organs of oxygen, and 8% say excess iron reduces function of the, what you just spoke of, mitochondria.
Okay. You're all correct to a certain degree. I was looking for a slightly different answer, but iron is very, very dangerous in higher amounts. First of all, it does tend to increase clotting factors, number one. Number two, about 85 to 90% of both heart attacks and strokes relate to clots. And so there's another thing that you should know about. When pathogens, the bad bacteria, leak some of their cell wall off, that's called an endotoxin. And if that gets through a leaky gut or a leaky gum, like let's say you have bleeding gums or you have a abscess in your tooth, just the tiniest particle of that can create massive amount of clotting in certain places in your body because of the immune reaction. So iron feeds these pathogens, and this is why there's a battle of iron in your body between your microbes, because they live on this iron, and so you're feeding the pathogens, and you can make it get a lot worse. So one really important preventative action for both stroke and heart attacks would be to keep your iron in check and make sure that doesn't go too high. And so I will be creating a video on this shortly because it's I think, an important topic, especially if you're consuming enriched foods like all the grain stuff with this iron, which is bad, or taking an iron supplement, which is equally as bad, or even cooking in an iron skillet, which is not good as well.
All right, let's clean it up, audience. Okay, let's go to quiz question number 3 for the day. There you go.
All right, true or false? Getting poor sleep, less than 6 hours, can significantly put you at risk of kidney disease.
True, false, audience. Okay, let's go to Rice and Beans, as he calls himself or her, from YouTube. Can autophagy occur during a dirty fast?
So I don't even know what a dirty fast is, unless you're talking about dirty intermittent fasting, because you're not eating anything when you're fasting. So I'm guessing, I think I know what you mean. It's like you're basically doing intermittent fasting, but you're doing dirty keto, where you're basically eating, just protein, but you're not worried about quality. Okay, now I understand. And then the question is, will that blunt autophagy? Well, autophagy is really more on when you don't fast for a period of hours, that's when you kick in the autophagy. But what you're talking about is when you eat. I don't think that's going to affect your autophagy because that's a completely different thing. But I guess the answer would be no. I don't think it would affect your autophagy.
All right, very good. That's hopeful. Trish from Rumble, my fasting insulin is 9.7 and is considered in range. Do you consider that a good number, 9.7?
There is, unfortunately, no real good agreement on what normal fasting levels of insulin should be. And some people say it can even be up to like 18, or I think even might be a little bit higher. Personally, based on what I saw, I think I would like to keep it below 5, maybe 7 or 5, maybe even lower. That's what I would recommend. So yours is still within the normal range. It doesn't sound like it's too bad, but it really also depends on, do you have other symptoms related to insulin resistance? Because that's really the problem that you develop when your insulin is too high, in which case, then you want to be really strict. But I don't have that data. So I would say you're still within a normal range. I would like to see it a little lower.
All right, very good. Let's go to Abraham from Rumble. What are your thoughts about good old ginkgo biloba?
There's some really great data on ginkgo biloba for various things like inflammation and cognitive function and mood and energy. So there's some great data on that. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, very good. Let's move right along by erasing that. And then going to Swain from YouTube. How can I treat it? I don't know, we did that. Julie from Facebook. Is black seed extract better extract than black seed oil? Extract versus oil.
Well, it's both. I don't know which one is more concentrated, because the black seed oil is pretty darn concentrated, and you have all the fatty acids. I guess it would really depend on if you have an extract, and they do have them in pill formation, in pills. What's the process? Are they doing it freeze dried? Are they cooking it? Are they heating it? Are they refining it? I don't know. So if you have a very high quality black seed extract, it might be just as good. I guess I've never looked at the evaluation on that, but I know both are probably going to be pretty darn beneficial, because black seed, wow, talk about a spectrum of health benefits that just go from all the way over here to all the way over here. I mean, just I can't even think of a condition that probably wouldn't benefit from black seed oil. So it covers a wide range of things.
All right, very good. That little introductory cough, I cut on Sajid's mic a little too early. There you are, sir. One question, if you would, for Dr. Berg in 30 seconds. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Dr. Berg. Thanks for having me. I'm 49 years old and from Canada. My wife recommended me your supplements, and I'm using through for many months. So I'm like a physical work daily, and I've noticed like a brownish semen after intercourse. Blood and urine tests are normal, and I have a testicular ultrasound scheduled. I've been feeling weak and low energy, and eyesight is getting worse, and I have lower back pain. I'm also pre-diabetic. Could all of these be connected, and what should I focus on the first? I'm using the supplements zinc, D2, D3, and K2 trace minerals, emergency immune support, magnesium glycinate, and adrenal and cortisol support, B1 plus. What is the best time to take those supplements? Thank you.
So I think there's levels of importances, right? I think you're taking some great things and you're taking plenty of nutrition. I don't think the problem that you have now is related to your nutrients. I think that'll help you. I think, and it really, as far as when to take it, it's not as important. But what I would do based on what you told me is I would radically change what you're eating, because there's something that is not right with, you should have lots of energy. But of course, it all depends what you're eating, right? I don't know what you're eating, but I would watch my video, which is basically, it says start here, number one. It's on how to do the healthy version of the ketogenic diet. You get on that diet. You start combining that with intermittent fasting. You should start getting your energy back. You should start feeling better. But there are a couple things that will destroy your energy at this point and the other symptoms you mentioned. And that would be snacking in between meals and also not consuming animal protein. So we need to have animal protein. That's just going to help you, especially, like, for example, if I did not have daily sufficient animal protein, I feel weak immediately, and my body just needs it to repair, to get those amino acids. I just feel weak. I'd feel kind of crappy, and so I need that consistently, because and there's a lot of reasons why. That's like the most important thing, and then also making sure that you're not adding any hidden carbs that are junk food along the way. So watch those videos, and I think that's what's missing with you. I think you have the nutrition handled right now, but the nutrition won't work without the diet being changed. So might be some new news to you.
There's always a catch. Thank you, Sajid. We appreciate your question. Let's go to quiz question number 3 for the day, which asks true, false, getting poor sleep, which we spoke to about Poonam, less than 6 hours can significantly put you at risk for kidney disease. 98% of our respondents say that it's true, and the remaining 2% are holding out for false.
So when I first saw this, I was like, no. I mean, lack of sleep, why would that affect your kidneys? But it does. Like, there's some serious research behind that. I was really, really surprised. I didn't think a lack of sleep would affect kidney function, but apparently it can, even to the point where it can create like a problem with protein in the urine, which is not good, which is fascinating. So I think the reason is, and this is just my guess, is that when you don't sleep, it creates a major stress for your body. You become now in the sympathetic dominant mode. And then from there, you will start to burn more sugars, and your body will start making more sugar, and it affects the blood sugars, which we know directly mess with the kidney. That's my guess on that. But the other combination with that is, if you're not sleeping enough and you are working out, it's very easy for you not to be able to repair and fit into the category of overtraining, in which case it puts more stress on the heart and the kidney and the organs. So this is why it's really, to figure that out, you check your blood pressure, check your pulse rate, make sure your pulse rate's like at least 72 or a little lower. But I've had other people, like, the pulse rate was like running on 80. I'm like, no, it's still too high. And they're working out and it's just not coming down. And then you find out the sleep needs to be fixed. The other thing about that is that there's another test and you can find this on my website. I think it's called the Stress and Recovery Device. That measures something called HRV, heart rate variability, which is measures the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic. You know, sometimes you might feel a certain way, but this really looks inside and says, oh yeah, this is what's happening. Like you got your foot on the gas pedal, you don't have any brake pads. It's really a good tool to know, figure out your pattern of exercise, if you should exercise hard or not, because sometimes you don't know and you could be overtraining. So if you have more interest in taking your health to the next level, that's a good biomarker to look at, whether you get another device or something. A lot, like nowadays, you could even, there's stuff on your cell phone apps that you can get. I don't think it's as accurate because you're just using your finger over the lens. I don't trust that, but if you get a good device, it might be beneficial to figuring things out.
All right, let's go to quiz question number 4, and there it is, Doc.
What is the one key nutrient that, if deficient, that is deficient in all types of kidney disease?
All right, what do you think, audience? Let's go to Marie from YouTube. With a family member with only producing a 30% ejection fraction of the heart pump, should they avoid lifting heavy objects and walking very far? Seem like two different things.
Yeah, I think I would just be cautious, and really you need to build up your cardiovascular slowly, tiny gradient steps. I think walks on a flat surface would be super beneficial in nature. I think sleeping more would be super essential. Getting on the healthy version of ketogenic diet, super essential. But there's some key nutrients that you might want to take. A natural B complex is important. Magnesium is going to be super, super important for your heart. Making sure you avoid grains and sugars is essential. I would not take calcium as a supplement. I would take magnesium because calcium creates more of a contraction. You want the things that relax it. And also, if you could find a local farmer that you can buy actual heart meat from an animal and eat some of that, maybe a few times a month, that is super beneficial for people with heart problems. I'm serious. There's a lot in there, including you could even buy the supplement coenzyme Q10 to help support the cardiovascular function, because that heart muscle is loaded with that coenzyme Q10.
All right, very good. Let's go to Yvonne from Facebook. Which vitamins would be good to treat the horrible migraine headache?
There's a couple that come to mind. You need high doses of magnesium, maybe even 1,800 milligrams a day. Make sure it's glycinate, because you don't want to get magnesium oxide, because you're going to get diarrhea, even getting close to that. So magnesium is vital. There's also data that shows that low sodium, you can have a headache from that. So you want to up your salt, sea salt for sure. There is some data that vitamin B2 deficiency can create migraines. I have not seen a lot of results by taking that, so I don't think you're going to see results on that. And then the last thing is if you have a good, if you've been treating this with ibuprofen or any type of drug for a long period of time, that can really mess up your liver and create even different types of headaches. So I think like a good turmeric would be really beneficial, or even milk thistle, to counter that and help your liver cope. So realize that any medication you're taking, especially like chronic, any problem, I would always be taking some type of antioxidant like that, just to keep your liver in good shape.
All right, very good. Let's go to quiz question number 4. This time we're going to answer it. What is the one key ingredient that is deficient in all types of kidney disease? And 55% of respondents say it's potassium, 25% say it's what you talked about, magnesium, and 10% say it's phosphorus, and the final 10% say vitamin D. Do we have winners today, Doc?
We have one group of winners. And the answer is vitamin D.
Yay.
Why? Because in your body, in order for you to go from the inactive to the active form of vitamin D, you need the kidney's help. When the kidney becomes damaged, you can't make that conversion that well anymore, so you are going to be deficient. And on top of that, if you're deficient in vitamin D, you're more at risk for kidney disease. And this is another interesting thing about kidney disease. If you're deficient in magnesium and vitamin D, it actually, there's damage that happens in the kidney, which is just wild that a deficiency could cause something like that. But it does. Just like a lack of B1, beriberi, or a lack of vitamin D with rickets. So in other words, it's kind of bidirectional. You want to have healthy kidneys to get enough vitamin D, but you also want enough vitamin D to have healthy kidneys.
All right, very good. Let's go ahead with our final quiz question of the day, Doc. There you go.
What is the primary nutrient difference between fish oils and cod liver oil?
All right, audience, no true, false, or left for today, so put on your thinking caps. Rube from Rumble, I bought TUDCA yesterday in 600 milligram capsules. What's the best time to take it, before or after a meal or some other time?
You want to take it on an empty stomach because if you take it with a meal or close to a meal, it tends to help you with digestion and might not be what you want. But the more I look at this TUDCA, the more, I study these things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be taking more TUDCA because there's a huge push to get your mitochondria really, really healthy. But this other thing, like I mentioned before, the endoplasmic reticulum in that cell, that's the cell that helps you make proteins and hormones and neurotransmitters. I mean, like, it's really, really important. And that seems to kind of go south before you get mitochondrial problems, which is fascinating. I didn't know that until recently. And then I started looking up all the specific things that TUDCA does, and it specifically addresses this endoplasmic reticulum stress that I had no idea. That's like a very unique thing. And that will take the pressure off your mitochondria and help you. So, of course, I've been taking it and I've been noticing, like, wow, I really like the way I feel on this. But TUDCA is it's a bile salt that is it's different than regular bile salts that also get into your blood, which is a normal thing. And you have receptors for bile in your joints, believe it or not. So this could actually help you against arthritis as well, which is fascinating. And it also has receptors in your neurons. So it's good for brain stuff. But it goes deep into the cell and keeps things protected. And this is goes way beyond just regular bile that you would think it's just good for helping you digest fats. No, that's just a small sliver of what it does. So anyway, I got off on a tangent there.
That's all right. So Christelle, I think is how you pronounce her name, from Facebook, please discuss the way to getting rid of brain fog during perimenopause while taking HRT, human replacement testosterone. Yeah, and who also have crippling anxiety. I'm sorry to hear that. Please give us some guidance, says Christelle.
Here's my 2 cents on HRT. I didn't tell you not to take it, but you might want to look at the side effects of that, because during perimenopause, you're getting this decrease of estrogen and progesterone. And you're going to ask the doctor, what caused these problems? And they're going to say it's a deficiency of estrogen. So what do? Take estrogen, or take progesterone and estrogen. Well, what causes that? That's a question they don't get into. Well, it's just part of menopause. We don't really know, and just take it. But here's the thing, you get this increased risk of clots and cancer and heart attack and stroke. Some people don't want those risks. Is there another way? Is there anything else that goes down? There's 2 specific things that happen during menopause, even perimenopause, in relationship to this drop in estrogen. And that is insulin resistance becomes more of a problem. So it's almost like you're eating more carbs when you're not eating more carbs. So that affects weight, brain fog, cognitive function, you name it. So this means that you need to not just do regular keto or low carb, but do it really, really strict to see the benefits. Bring your carbs down as low as possible. The other factor that happens when estrogen decreases is vitamin D doesn't really convert like it should and doesn't get absorbed like it should. So that becomes more of a problem. So if you were going into menopause with a vitamin D deficiency, now you're really going to be deficient. And think about what are the symptoms of a vitamin D deficiency. Depression, high blood pressure, inflammation, like it goes on and on and on. So the two things I would focus on is beefing up your vitamin D3 or sun, and then being really strict with your carbs. That probably will give you a lot of benefit and help you smoother.
All right. Well, I tell you what, speaking of smoother is the key role that our audience plays in helping us get through the show. And they always answer the questions. Thank you all for that quick research. And this question, the final one, asks, what is the primary nutrient difference between fish oil and cod liver oil? 78% of respondents said cod liver, has higher levels of vitamin A and omega-3s. 22% say it has higher levels of DHA and K2, and 10% say it has more vitamin D.
Okay, so I'm going to keep it really simple. Fish oils and cod liver oil have roughly about the same amount of omega-3s. That's DHA and EPA. DHA is a structural fat for your brain and your retina. EPA is it's like an anti-inflammatory. It's going to help your heart. It's going to reduce inflammation everywhere in your body. But cod liver oil has one thing that fish oils don't have, or actually two things. It has vitamin D and vitamin A, the active form, retinol. It's a good source of that. So that's the difference. So you have these couple little additional things. And if you look up just the history of cod liver oil, there's probably a reason why your grandmother or your parents gave you that in a spoon, because it's a way to get vitamin D and omega-3 and help a lot of problems. That they used that to prevent rickets way back in the day, which is softening of the bones. So of course, then when we had this advent of synthetic drugs from petroleum that you can patent and make a lot of money, all these other natural remedies faded away as folklore and unscientific and unproven. And I'm going to be doing a video on that because it's a fascinating history, especially if you look in these textbooks of what they used to use, and you can kind of go, wow, they used a lot of natural things back in the 30s and 40s, even 50s. And then all of a sudden, all that went away.
All right, very good. Let's make sure we get to Susan from YouTube. What's the best non-pharma solution for motion sickness?
B6.
Okay, take that and call us in the morning. Mandiza from
And
YouTube.
also, if you're in a car, you want to focus something in the distance because it's unstable. So you want to stabilize your vision on something static in the distance.
All right, I'm going to ask this question because I'm proud. I think I can actually pronounce the condition. Andrea from Rumble. What would you recommend for seborrheic dermatitis?
So those conditions that involve the skin, especially that one, would respond very well to higher doses of vitamin D3 and, of course, zinc. Those two are key. But don't forget to change the diet because when you have insulin resistance and you have higher amount of insulin, your skin just goes down. And you have all these other issues with the sebaceous gland, more sebum, more oil, acne, and because of the insulin. Insulin increases more androgens and it messes everything up. So you have to change the diet, go low carb. Zinc and vitamin D will give you, I think, a lot of relief with that.
All right. Well, we kind of got a weekend coming up around the world. Any last words, Doc?
Any last words of wisdom? I would say from now on, before you put anything in your mouth when you're sitting down at the table, ready to eat, or even when you're going grocery store, shopping, just, will this sustain my life? Will this repair my body? Will this support the growth and repair of tissues? And if the answer is no, it's not, does not fit the definition of food, don't eat it. That would just be some wise information. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you next week.